Hello and welcome back to Cartoon, and welcome back to the Golf R. And yes, I am milking this cow as much as I can. Now, if you've already seen my Golf R review, if you didn't, I'll link it down below in the description. You already know that I love this car. I love the way it looks, I love the way it drives, I love how practical and comfortable it is. But as with any car I've ever driven, there are a few drawbacks. And today we're gonna have a look at 5 things that I'm not really fond of with this new Golf R. And the first thing on my list is the four-wheel drive system, which I think is a bit pointless on a Golf. And as much as I love a proper four-wheel drive system, this is not one of them. First off, this is a Haldex system, and that basically means that this car is a front-wheel drive car that can also send power to the back wheels when needed. Unfortunately, it can only send up to 50% of the power to the rear wheels. There's no torque vectoring, none of that clever stuff. That's it. And to be honest with you, after driving this car for 5 days and after experiencing the GTI a couple of months ago, I'm not really sure that this four-wheel drive system adds anything to the driving experience. But what it does add, however, is more weight to the car. This R is 120 kilograms heavier than a GTI, and it also adds complexity to the car, which is never a good thing in these modern times we're living. And I don't know about you, but the new Renault Megane, the Seat Leon R, and the Honda Civic Type R do very well without a four-wheel drive system. So, I don't know. Point number 2 on my list is the boot space. And believe it or not, that's connected to point number 1 on my list, which was the four-wheel drive system. How are these two things related, you might ask? Well, in order to fit the moving parts that drive the back wheels, Volkswagen had to raise the boot floor of this Golf R. And that means that the boot space of this car is 40 liters less than that of a GTI or a regular Golf. And considering that practicality is one of the main selling points of the Golf, shrinking its boot size is not a great idea. Moving on, we get to point number 3 on my list, which is the leather upholstery on the Golf R's seats, which is optional, by the way. And yes, I do know that VW markets this as fake leather, and I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with this carbon-like texture on the side bolsters of the seats. And not that it looks bad, but it feels really, really cheap. And VW did a great job on this interior by upping its game and introducing new quality materials on the inside, but this texture is absolutely awful. I don't know how to best describe this, but it feels like an oilcloth. Yeah, something like that. It feels very, very cheap. So my advice to you, if you're planning to buy a Golf R in the near future, maybe throw some extra money at the situation and go for the real leather, or just stick with the standard cloth interior. It's just fine. But yeah, moving on. Point number 4. And that is the infotainment system. And no, I don't have a problem with the actual infotainment system. I have a problem with the lack of buttons on it. Volkswagen went all out in simplifying this infotainment system, and it is really good, but unfortunately they don't even have a rotary switch for the volume control. And there's really no shortcuts to any sub-menu within this infotainment system. Because, for example, if I'm listening to a radio station and I want to go to the map and change something, I first have to go to the menu and then click on the navigation sub-menu, and there I have the map. It's just 1 or 2 extra steps that aren't really needed. And that also makes you take your eye from the road to have a look at the menus and what you're pressing. But yeah, I think VW could do a bit of extra work on the usability of this infotainment system. And while they're at it, they could also reduce the amount of gloss black that's in this car, because I don't know, this entire area of the dash is a fingerprint magnet basically. And finally, we have point number 5, and I'm pretty sure you've guessed that by now. It's the price. This car that I'm driving today costs roughly 55,000 euros. And don't get me wrong, the car is very well equipped. It has the 19-inch wheels, it has the performance pack, the Akrapovic exhaust, the big navigation system, this excellent sunroof, which I highly recommend. But 55,000 euros for the Golf R, I don't know. And even the base price is quite high. In Sweden, that's around 40,000 euros. That's roughly the cost of a very, very well-equipped GTI. And I wouldn't really have a problem with the price actually, but my biggest gripe is with the depreciation. You can find one of these used, a 6-month-old one, for 39,000 euros. And I don't know about you, but losing 17,000 euros in 6 months is quite a lot. But anyway, guys, these have been the 5 things I don't really like about the Golf R. If you're an owner and you want to add to that list, do it by commenting down below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Cartoon for lots more videos to come. And until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you around.